An unforgettable end to a massive Big Bash season as the Hurricanes snagged their maiden title.
The Hobart Hurricanes win their first Big Bash title. It's party time in the bar.
And there's one man we'll be talking about for a very long time to come.
Owen, a record equaling 100 in the Big Bash on the biggest occasion.
Brad Hodge joins us for our season finale. This is The Surge. G'day everyone and welcome to The Surge, the final episode of BBL 14. And what a final we did have. What a performance we did have from Mitch Owen. I'm Adam White. Brad Hodge is with me again. Hodgie, you were down there at Ninja Stadium for what was a night so many cricket fans will never forget.
Whitey, it was incredible, wasn't it? It was history in the making. We sort of called it as the biggest event in Tasmania's sporting history. And I think it sort of lended itself that way over the course of the night. The crowd was amazing. The Mitch Owen chants going around the stadium, we couldn't get that out of our head. So I was still awake at 3 a.m. in the morning hearing Mitch Owen, Mitch Owen. So that was really cool. It was a great spectacle, great climax, and I think the best team won in the end.
We've sort of identified the Hurricanes through the tournament as the team to watch. And largely that was we knew that they weren't going to lose too many players once they got to the business end of the series, providing they were still obviously alive. They were playing consistently. They all had defined roles. And in the end, while they might have lost the plot a little bit with the ball there for a little while against the Thunder, when it was their time to bat, they just did exactly what they did through the home and away season.
They did. And look, if you're in the lime green of the Sydney Thunder, unfortunately for them, there was a huge amount of dew that came in the evening, and it just made batting conditions absolutely superb. Doesn't make it any easier that you still got to hit the ball and hit it in the middle of the bat. But it was one of those times when you knew that batting second was 20 runs short, you felt, when they walked out to bat, Mitch Owen marking centre we did a halftime show and put our hands sort of on the grass, and it was really, really damp. So that's the first time it sort of happened in Hobart for a long time. It was really hot, like 34 degrees during the day, and then it just dramatically dropped to this low temperature. Hence the dew came in, and it made just beautiful batting conditions. But you talked about both bowling teams being rabbits in the headlights. Well, both were under extreme pressure. I've never seen the Thunder under extreme pressure like that, or anyone, for example. After the first over from McAndrew, it was just a diabolical start, and it just got worse. And Hobart absolutely smoked them everywhere. It was amazing to watch.
And that's the thing, is that you look at it and you think, the Hurricanes have won with 5 overs to spare. Essentially, that was a walk in the park. But I want to go back to when Jason Sanger and David Warner were controlling the game totally, going around 10 runs and over, hadn't lost a wicket. All the things that I talked about that the Hurricanes were so strong with through the home and away season, it was kind of unravelling outside of probably Nathan Ellis, who kept it together throughout. What turned around, other than obviously getting Sanger and Warner out in reasonably quick succession? How did it change? And did you think the Hurricanes were in trouble at that point?
Well, the drinks break came at the perfect time, the 10-over mark, because the Thunder were marching towards the 200 target quite comfortably, actually. They set a beautiful platform. I was particularly impressed with Sanger. That was a brilliant 50 that he made as well.
So 67 off just 42 balls.
Yeah, he was particularly aggressive against Riley Meredith, who bowled fast, actually, and you could see the ball speed at the ground. And Sanger played him beautifully. He went after him. He attacked him if he pitched up. He took on a hooked one for 6 of the pull shot. So his batting was actually sublime. His running also between the wickets with David Warner was a standout. I mean, he's an animal, David Warner. He's such an athlete between the wickets, really putting the fielding group under pressure. And he did. You could see that. And that was part of his methodology, and it was working. And then the break came, and then Ellis took the ball himself and executed a couple of really impressive slow balls, got a couple of wickets, and that sort of changed the whole momentum of the game right there. As a captain, it was probably either him or Riley Meredith straight out of the break, went for himself, got the job done. And economically, we've talked about their bowling structure, the way it was structured up with the two quicks at the front, Meredith and Stanlake. Stanlake got injured, so they had to find a replacement there. And then they had Jordan and Ellis and the spinners. So they've sort of steered away from their spinners as being priority. So they've had Hatzoglu bowled a couple of overs. Chowdhury's bowled a few throughout the tournament, but not a specific front liner. That's really interesting. Jordan was particularly expensive on this night. Uncharacteristically bowled wide, didn't execute his. It just was a rare off night. Luckily, Nathan Ellis had a stunner. So, yeah, kept him to under 200 on the back of his individual performance.
So much to talk about from a Hurricanes point of view, and we'll get to Nathan Ellis from a leadership point of view a little bit later, but I want you to expand on his repertoire with the ball, and particularly his slower ball, how it seems so difficult to pick from a batting point of view. If you're out there facing him, are you almost playing for the slower ball rather than the quick ball, or is that going too far?
No, I would be personally, and I'm sure others do that. I would know that at a matchup, Nath would bowl me 3 slow balls out of 6. So I've got to deal with that, and that's the conundrum, because you can often get caught then by his quicker delivery, and if you're not good enough to catch up with it, well, it's a dot ball. So vice versa, if you're looking for the quick ball, then his change of pace and variation is going to have to. That's why it's hard to take down, like, consistently.
Because that's what I wanted to ask you, because a spinner has an arm ball.
Yeah.
So you're obviously playing for a normal spinner. The arm ball might come, I don't know, once or twice every 3 or 4 overs.
Yeah.
But from a fast point of view, is it easier to adjust to a quicker ball from a fast bowler as opposed to, where is it? Oh, it's the slow ball. By the time you've picked it, it's you've missed out the opportunity of scoring.
In my history and my methodology, that's exactly how you set up to the best players with good change of pace. So I'd definitely set up for the slow ball.
Yeah.
And then upskill when you need to get that quicker pace. The one thing with Nath is he's not 145. Like, it's not Riley Meredith. So that change up, you're not frighteningly short of time. You can catch up. It's just how you deal with it. So don't think that he's going to bowl his on-pace ball in the same spot either. It's either a real hard length, it's a really good Yorker, or it's a wide line Yorker. Like, he's got also variations in his artillery for his on-speed ball as well. So and that's what makes him super impressive. And that's what makes the guys who have been great at that, Ben Lachlan, AJ Ty, throughout our history, that's why they're difficult.
Yeah, he's the new version of those two. They're the two that immediately came to mind.
Well, it's funny you said that, because he's nearly first picked in Australia's T20 side now, on the back of what he can do, and he just has the ability, when the game's getting out of reach, come in, deliver an over of 5 or 6 runs, maybe a wicket. And then someone like Zampa up the other end will come in and bowl 2 really good balls. All of a sudden, the opposition's under pressure, play a rush shot, you get a wicket. So the partnership bowling with Nathan Ellis is critical. He's unbelievably good. So it's great for him personally, not only to execute in the game, but get the job done for his team.
Here is Nathan Ellis speaking at the post-match presentation.
Pretty surreal at the moment. I want to thank the boys. I said it a bit earlier, I'm in awe of you guys as a team this year. The only word I can come up with is proud. We played some bloody brilliant cricket this year, and we deserve to be here tonight. And I obviously can't go a moment without thanking the Hobart faithful. This one's for all of cricket fans in Tasmania. Tasmanian cricket's changed my life, and I feel really honoured to be a part of your first championship down here. So this one's for you guys, all the past players, and everyone who's been involved in the Hurricanes. I'm not going to stand here and say it was me that ran the ship all year round and got us here. I mean, we have a really amazing staff, a really amazing leadership group, and a lot of experience in our side. We had moments where all members of our squad stood up throughout the tournament. So as a captain, I just feel really lucky to have this group, and I'm up here now. It feels pretty surreal, but to be up here now, I feel very honoured.
There you go. Nathan Ellis there speaking on stage after the Hurricanes win. Talk to us about his leadership, because He's been in the job a couple of years now. From the outside, it was like, Nathan Ellis is captain. That's an interesting move. And again, that's purely from the outside perception. He's clearly shown that he can do it. Were you surprised at how good he has gone in that captaincy role, that on-field leadership role?
No, not really. I think that he's grown in his own mind about his ability. Once you play for Australia, you sort of get this inner thought that, you're accepted and you're a gun player and blah, blah, blah. And when you certainly do it on the international stage, you come back to a domestic stage and there's almost this expectation that you are a natural leader. So with Nath, you know that I'll tell you a story around the Australian unit. Like, he's such an overtrainer and trains so hard that they have to curb his time in warm-up, in training, and that's so he doesn't burn himself out when the game comes around. That's how intense he is and how meticulous he is about making sure that he's prepared for the game. So in that style of leadership, it's no surprise that when he walks out crosses the white line for the game, that everyone behind him is going to know the level which they have to take out to the park. So that leadership on field is really cool. There's also the offside field. Now, he's a great guy, really nice person, and that is really important in the dressing room as well. So to be able to mix with not only your local players and get the best out of them, but also the international players. So he said that he's got a really nice partnership with Chris Jordan. Now, that's important as well. So yeah, look, it's not a surprise. It's never easy when you first do it. So, take Marcus Stoinis as well, who's faced pressure. Is he going to be a better captain year 2, 3, 4 down the track? More than likely, yes. Because you sort of work out that there's 10 other players that you have to worry about. And then the other 4 on the bench, or 5 or 6 or whatever it is. So you sort of move from an individualistic point of view to, how do I look after the team? So I think Nate's done that really, really, really well.
Talking to a few people that know him very well, they reference how difficult it was for him to actually get his start in first-class cricket, and start in domestic cricket, and the sacrifices that he had to make just to get that chance. And that sort of works in a number of different ways. It keeps him grounded, but also keeps him very much appreciating what it is that he's now doing. And I think that helps from a work rate point of view and actually being able to relate with some of the other players too, to sort of say, hey, it didn't get handed to me. I had to work really hard for it. And if you work hard for it, this is what's possible.
What is spot on. And some people just get more greater opportunities than others in sport. It happens. It's simple. And that's why I love the Melbourne Storm culture. I don't know if you know this, but Bellamy gets the players in. I don't know if it still happens, but it used to get, players in from other states or other teams that operated around Australia come into our team, and he'd send you out into the workforce.
Yes.
So off you go, bricklaying or whatever you want to do, and just explain to them that that's your choice. If you want to go down that path, that's how hard it is. That's a tough road as well. But if you enter in this environment, these are our expectations as well. It's a pretty simple choice, and he lines it out pretty clearly. There's some people that bypass that bricklaying and go straight to the team and think, this is great. This is how it is. This is pretty comfortable. And they often meander in their cricket, their development. Cricket players also always get criticised for complaining and sitting around drinking coffee and complaining about something else to complain about. Reality is, though, they're all sports people. And when there's time to play cricket, they knuckle down. But Nath he's very much that road that Bellamy would he'd love.
So the Thunder got 7 for 182, and then when it was the Hurricanes' turn to bat, they were 5 off no balls, pretty much.
Yes.
And in fact, that's what it was. And then away they went, 20-odd off the first over. Mitch Owen ends up with 108 off 42 balls, including 6 fours and 11 sixes.
Yeah.
Equal fastest BBL century of all
Knocked the
time.
big ship off, didn't he?
And he did it in a grand final.
Yeah.
We thought of what Josh Brown had done the year before was pretty special, and it was.
It was.
But to be able to do it in front of your home crowd in a chasing situation where it is great to do it in front of your home crowd, but there's also a lot of pressure that goes with that when your name's being chanted, as you said.
Yeah.
And he just kept going and going and going and going.
He did. And that's been his way the whole season. I think what'll be really interesting, Whitey, is what happens next year. And how does he approach it? Does he approach it the same way? Do the opposition approach things differently? Well, it was quite interesting. We had David Warner on comms on the broadcast, and he basically stated that we informed our bowling group, so McAndrews and Agar in particular, if he steps away, don't follow him. Well, the first 5 balls, he stepped away and he followed him, and they all went down to fine leg, whether it was through wides or byes or bat. So it was actually a great example of how sport can just mess with your mind in a moment under pressure. And that's exactly what happened to McAndrew. If he had instructions from the bowling group, from his bowling coach and the captain himself, this is how to get him out. This is how we're going to contain him. It was the complete opposite. And it just went to absolute nightmare in about 4 minutes.
It did. And, we talk about momentum in cricket, but within 6 balls, it was all Hurricanes. And it felt like it was done after 6 balls, despite the fact the Thunder got 182 on the board.
Yeah, because as I mentioned, the dew was there, and that was worth about 20 runs. So all of a sudden, that 180 after 1 over was 160 chase in 19 overs. And with the dew in there, that was always going to be comfortable. So it was a shocking start. And then a little bit of panic as well. Tom Andrews bowling the next, and that just got sent to orbit every ball as well. It was incredible to watch. There was no spin. And it was just, they panicked, Sydney Thunder, and rightfully so. I don't think anyone's seen an onslaught like that for a long, long time.
So the question I've got for you, Hodge, is that when it happened at the start of the year, the move of Owen to the top, and it had been tried at different times in domestic cricket, sort of 50-over cricket. So it wasn't as though it was a total shock. Is it pinch hitting, or is it actually he's better than that? He's just a good, hard-hitting cricketer? Because I can't quite make up my mind. Because he's done it so consistently through the tournament, I think it would be disrespectful to say that he's pinch hitting, but he's being asked to go out essentially and pinch hit because 31 off 13 gets them going, and it's almost, that's a tick.
Well,
so
I'm
it's
sure
a hard one to know how to peg him.
You got to give him credit, because when you play such a high-risk game like that, consistency is not part of the makeup.
That's right.
So he's been able to pull that off. I'm sure everyone else opening the batting, Josh Brown, Jake Fraser-McGurk, Sam Harper,
Chris Lynn,
Matt Short, they're all trying, but the consistency it's waivers. It's like maybe 1 in 3, where you'll get off to a flyer and then continue on. Mitch Owen, it's been out of this world. It's been off the charts. Good skill. He did hardly hit a ball. And that's amazing. He's actually a lot bigger than you think. Like when you get up close and personal to him, physically, he's tall, he's strong, and you think, wow, it's not a surprise he actually clocks at 100 metres.
So for someone like yourself who has played cricket all around the world, have played in all the important T20 competitions there is to play in, when you watch what he's done, are you in awe of what he's
Jealous.
done? You're definitely.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But what's the overarching emotion or observation you make from what you're seeing?
It's just a huge level of appreciation. Like, any cricket lover has got to sit there and go, this is unreal. Like, doesn't matter what team you're barracking for. It used to be one of the great loves was watching Chris Gale go nuts. Same thing. Didn't matter whether he was playing against you or in your own team or some other team. When you see a cricket ball hit like that consistently and you see something special, you just admire it and go, wow. And that's exactly what happened throughout this whole episode of BBL. Even Ricky himself was sort of saying, Jesus, is Mitch, this could be the game he fails, how's the rest of the team going to react if he gets out for a duck? Well, it didn't happen. He got 100 and smashed it out of the park. So, look, it's just an extraordinary, he's just in the zone. He must be in that cricket zone where it's just everything he can see clearly, hitting the ball in the middle. And there's just an admiration to go, wow, that's insane. And then you go, well, what's next for him?
Well,
how does he get into
does that change his life now? I mean, obviously he's the IPL auction for this year, but there's plenty of other opportunities for him to play around the world. That's just that hour of cricket's probably changed his life forever.
I can guarantee you he will play IPL this year. There'll be some way in which he finds himself in IPL. I can guarantee that happens. Someone will not miss this opportunity to shore up Mitch Owen. He has just changed his life. Not only on the back of this performance, that is a life-changing performance, but it's actually the 10 game or the 12 games. It's just an extraordinary portfolio of skill that hasn't been witnessed, I reckon, for a long time.
And for those that only watch the BBL and don't watch domestic cricket, he plays for Tasmania as a bowler who bats 7 or 8.
Yeah.
So we didn't see a lot of that through the tournament, but he is an important player.
Overs, I think.
He's an important player in sort of white ball for, when you get the 50 over cricket, but also for Shield cricket as well. It was quite remarkable. I want to ask you also about Matthew Wade. So he got 32 not out off 17 balls.
Yeah.
I think it was important just how important he's been for Tasmanian cricket and clearly for the Hurricanes for quite some time now, that he's part of that sort of that drought-breaking premiership team. I know you know him extremely well, just that he's now got that on the mantelpiece.
Yeah, it was good. I mean, he had his family there as well, straight on the field after it. You could see that he was pretty emotional actually, Matty. I'm sure there was a whole stack load of family that come to watch, and it's that build up to that would have been insane. There was a few. There was Riley Meredith, there was Ben McDermott, there was Matty Wade, who'd been there for a long period of time and hadn't tasted success. So great accolade for Matty. He's achieved some pretty cool things throughout his cricket career, particularly in the last 5 years. And I think this one is a really special one. So to go down in history as being a part of the first one that the Hurricanes have been able to bring, to the Apple Isle, particularly at home as well. I think that's the critical thing, because they've had some really good performances. The jumper jacks are like killing it down there, doing really well. Cricket, the girls have been on fire in the WNCL, and now this. It's just big. It's a really emotional moment for him. We'll remember it forever. And
so on the competitor stakes, if there was a gold, silver, and bronze in domestic cricket for being the fiercest of competitors, is he got the gold medal, or is he just on the podium?
We were talking about this when we were driving home from the ground to say, what would it be like if you got in a fight with Matty Wade? And sort of Finchy said, well, the first thing you'd do would bite you. So you're like, yeah, he probably would actually. That's the sort of scrapper that he is, Like there's this ability to get in a contest, and he's I wouldn't say he's aggressive, but he's just in the moment. And there was a little bit of spite between him and Billings. There's a lot of verbal stuff. Not sure why. I can't quite work that out. But then Matty just responds with a technical, skillful knock and just gets them home in clinical fashion, which he's done many times for Australia. So that was pretty cool. And you could see the celebrations. It didn't get caught on camera, but I think he leant down, kissed, I think, the pitch, in sort of like that, winning a Grand Slam title sort of methodology, and away he went. So hugely emotional and hugely enjoyable, I reckon, for Matty himself personally.
Yeah, that felt right, didn't it?
It did.
Okay, a couple of other things before we talk about a few other issues in BBL. Peter Hatzoglu, he was our man for Cricket Australia, who went out and interviewed his teammates, and he caught up with a number of them, including the man of the moment. Here he is, Peter Hatzoglu, out on the ground, interviewing his teammates.
Hey guys, Hatsy here. I'm back with another version of the post-match review. I'm going to get some reactions from some of the guys, see how we go. Julie, what's it like standing at the other end when Mitch is going at it?
Incredible to be honest, especially when they're all cheering his name.
Tell me about the talk, mid-wicket, mid-crease.
No talk, just keep going.
Brilliant. We love it. We love that. Mate, after they go off to that start, how do you keep such a cool, calm sort of head to bring it back the way we did, the way you and Nally and CJ did?
Yeah, I'm not sure if I had much to do with it, but Nath bowled a nice, great over. I think it was the 11th over, got a couple of wickets. Ball was in their court for a while before that, but yeah, those 2 wickets sort of stemmed the momentum, and then I think all of us sort of chipped in a bit, yeah.
You've grown up here in Tasmania and Hobart. What sort of effect will a BBL premiership have on cricket in not just Hobart but Tasmania?
Yeah, it's unbelievable. You obviously can see the last 2 home games we've had here. It's been a packed out crowd. The demand for tickets has been absolutely crazy. I've had about 5,000 requests myself, so yeah, it's unbelievable. People are loving it, and yeah, it's good for cricket.
Got the star of the show, Mitch Owen. Mate, what's been the secret this year? You've been thrown up the order, and you've made the most of it, haven't you?
No, it's just going out there and trying to get us off to a good start, Hat, so then the middle order can come in and just build an innings and try and see us home, and then the big hitters at the end like you can finish it off.
You're a proud Newtown boy playing grade cricket for your club. You get back as often as you can. What sort of effect is this going to have at Newtown? What are the boys going to think when you go back and watch them play? You won't be playing for them anymore. I reckon you'll be up at the IPL and the big lights, but what sort of effect will this have on Newtown?
No, I got a 2-day on Saturday to get ready for us with Newtown, so I love getting back to Newtown. They're all my close mates, so yeah, I really enjoy it, and I can't wait. They're up there with that big stupid sign. I can't wait to go and celebrate with them.
It's early morning in the UK, but so many English people wake up and watch these games, don't they?
Yeah, honestly, you do get some good support back home. And yeah, everyone will be waking up this morning, hopefully with a smile on their face.
When a team gets off to such a good start like that, how do you contain them in the back 10, like you, Nelly and Riz did?
Yeah, well, obviously in the front 10, we just try to assess the conditions first and foremost. And then after that, I thought we changed our pace really well. At times, they did get a couple of boundaries away, but we were happy with them not obviously hitting probably too many sixes, but more fours. And then in the back 10 overs, I thought we did a really good job to restrict them to less than 190.
CJ, one last thing I want to do. Can we just do a little clink with the medals, just so all the people at home can hear?
Clink.
There we go. Thank you, guys.
There you go, the Hurricanes, champions of the BBL. One observation, Hodgie, I wanted to throw into the mix, which I think is almost, it's one of the most significant things I think from the entire tournament that happened. And that was that Mitch Owen won the game for them, but Mitch Owen, as a kid, was a Hurricanes fan that used to sit in the stands and watch his team play, that he actually aspired to be a Hurricanes player doing what he did.
Yeah.
And why I say that's significant is as the BBL now reaches 14 seasons, we are now getting to that time now where kids growing up in a purple shirt of the Hurricanes, a royal blue shirt of the Strikers, whatever the colour, whatever the team, they're actually dreaming to be a BBL player one day.
Yeah.
And I think that just to see those images of Mitch as a youngster in the purple Hurricane shirt and then seeing what he was able to do, I think he's hugely significant for the growth of the sport.
Critically important. I mean, I think we chatted a couple of weeks ago about homegrown talent and who's responsible for making sure that homegrown talent makes its way into the it's not a franchise, but the BBL
right
team.
pathway, the right channel, yeah.
Yeah, and you should be trying to promote exactly that. The reason why, you've already pointed out, Wade, Mitch Owen, they're passionate about where they're from and who they represent.
Nathan Ellis is another one.
Yeah. So it's there's a lot to be said for getting that homegrown talent together, nurturing it, and bringing it to a level that wins titles. So I think there can be a lot more that can be done to make sure that happens, in my opinion.
Yeah, so there's that part of it, but there's the older person, and I'll put myself in this category. I used to, watch you playing for Victoria as a Victorian, cheering for Victoria. That in a way kind of still craves that whole Victorian experience.
Yeah,
to be a fan of Victorian cricket. But what we're seeing now is the younger people coming through. They're aspiring to be a renegade or a star, or in the case of Mitch Owen, they're aspiring to be a Hurricane player. And I think just seeing those images is significant in the growth of the competition, but also the validity of the competition, that it's real, it's wholesome, it's authentic. It's not made up teams. These are teams that the next generation of cricket have grown up knowing and watching, night after night on the television.
You go to any T20 blast on a Sunday morning or under 12s or under 14s cricket, you ask any of those kids, just say they're in Victoria, who do you want to play for? It's either Australia or Melbourne Stars or Melbourne Renegades. It's not Victoria, it's not some Pathways team. They're the three teams. So there's a huge ambition for all the people who watch Big Bash to play for their team, to play for one of their teams. And that's pretty cool. It's huge for the sport. There's been a lot of eyeballs on the BBL this year. The ratings have been incredible. There's been a lot of attendances actually at the games physically. So we know how important it is for not only the kids, but the mums as well, who pretty much look after the kids while the old man's jumping around, carrying on, watching sixes go everywhere. But it is such a family-orientated game. Like, it really does. There's a heap of families down there in Hobart, all having a great time, cheering their local boys on, and it was really cool. It is important. It is important to understand where you come from and the pathway that you take to get there. So, Shane Warne wouldn't have played for anyone other than the Stars. It's that simple. And
numbers don't lie. TV audiences have been significant. Crowd figures up on last year, so that the trends are all going in the right direction. So it is it's hugely significant. Just before we go on to play movement, because the Renegades have made the first big move in the postseason, looking across maybe some of the other teams that played in the finals, where are some obvious deficiencies that you look at and go, oh, that's an easy fix by doing X, Y, and Z, or is it too early to go down that path at this stage?
Well, it's never an easy fix to find your holes and then try and patch them up. There's in history, there hasn't been a lot of movement in the BBL from, let's call it the top-end players. The really good top-end players generally stay where they are, and it's more the guys that are on the bench that haven't played a game. They're the ones that generally tend to move team to team. So, there's a couple of big moves that are in the pipeline, big names. I don't know whether it's going to happen or not, but there's been talk of Mitch Marsh. There's been talk of Tim David. There was even talk of Mitch Owen.
Yes, there was.
Going elsewhere. So there's Matt Renshaw. There's a few players off contract. AJ Tybe, we know, but I'm talking about the top echelon players. I imagine Mitch Marsh is probably the one, along with Tim David and Mitch Owen, who were red hot at the time, that were, curiously getting a lot of attention. I don't know where they've panned out. I know that Jason's gone to the Renegades, which is confirmed. Tim David, I'm sure, will stay at Hobart, but you never know. And Mitch Owen has signed, which was luckily, the week before.
He probably shouldn't have. You just waited a bit more. He would have had a bigger paycheck.
Yeah, well, just on Mitch, speaking to Ricky about it, he signed a good deal, don't get me wrong. And he was extremely open about getting an opportunity. So his loyalty was like, hey, you guys gave me an opportunity to go up and open the batting. That if that didn't happen, then I'm probably just a cellar dweller doing nothing. So kudos to Mitch Owen and the Hobart Hurricanes management for understanding that. And that sometimes can be lost in players. You can quickly go and chase the buck. And for him, it's important to know that where he's batting, like Hobart is a beautiful place to play T20 cricket. It's short, square. It suits his game. It's a belting wicket. And you can pump them everywhere. 11 sixes like that just doesn't happen in a game too often at all. So, again, we've seen players progress their international ambitions by batting on good surfaces. Matt Short's one of them. So I think, that's particularly an area we know that the Renegades are going to struggle to attract, and also Sydney Thunder. So, facilities have to be a high grade for people to want to come to your team.
So as we go into that period of the BBL, similar to an AFL trade period.
Yeah.
If you were a list manager, are you looking more at trying to get the best local players and really target that as becoming your core, or are you looking to try and get the best overseas players to get and be part of your setup? Or is it
my personal strategy would be to secure the best local players? So I can get them and shore them up and know that they're exactly what I need. And then your overseas players are just a feel. So for me, an overseas player is someone that can't do what a local can. That's the way I view it. So if you've got a local that can average 30 and strike at 130, why do you need an overseas? So that's where you go and go, okay, well, we don't need that. What we don't have is a mystery spinner. okay, let's go and get a mystery spinner because there's none of them in Australia.
Mm-hmm.
So you look at it that way. That's the way I view things.
Yeah, because I feel that the Hurricanes have been quite instructional for everybody else because it felt like at the start of the tournament, you looked at their list and thought, yeah, it's good, maybe a bit vanilla, but, there's not the superstar international player outside of Chris Jordan, but there's not, because I remember having those conversations when we were previewing the tournament. But what they did was that they showed that if you have your core of players that are available all year that know each other very well, and then, as you say, you sort of bring in a Chris Jordan, you bring in Chowdhury or something a bit different to what they don't have, and you sort of look at it, you think, okay, they might not have the superstar players, but they've got the superstar team. And I just wonder whether there's other teams that are sitting there going, we were good early in the tournament, but then we lost half our players. What good was that for us once we got to the business end?
Well, they're probably, it's funny, they probably have underachieved over the last few years because when you break it down, they do have a list of superstars.
Yeah.
So, Mitch Owen, let's cast him aside. But then if you go McDermott, who's been a fair superstar in this competition, played for Australia, Matty Wade, Tim David, Nathan Ellis all played for Australia. Riley Meredith played for Australia. So there is actually a mix of fair superstars in that core group. But you mentioned something really critically important, knowing the players and how they present under pressure. That's a critical element of T20 cricket. And they've all played together for a period of time. They all know each other personally. They all know each other's games. And they're able to get it done out in the middle, that's knowing your personality and knowing your personnel. That's part of T20 cricket, which you need to nail.
Jason Behrendorff going. So it's a 3-year deal.
Yep.
He's 35 in about April next year.
Yep.
It's a 3-year deal. And I think they needed the Renegades to offer that length of tenure to get him away from the Scorchers. I think it's showing a couple of things. Firstly, the Scorchers.
Let me I'll ask you the question.
Yep.
Why does it need to be a 3-year deal to lure him away from the Scorchers when the Scorchers have basically said, thanks, Jace, but you've been unreal for us. You're not in our best 10.
Well,
How does Jace not get in your best 10?
I don't know whether they're necessarily saying that. I think they're saying to Jason, you're 35 next year. We're only prepared to offer you a 1-year deal. If you want to have a look at your options, go for it. We value you, but we need to look at some of the – well, we probably not as highly clearly as the Renegades.
Maybe.
But we need to look at some of our other younger fast bowlers. And so to be able to rip someone out of a Scorchers environment – I don't think 2 years is going to get it done.
Out of prison. It's easier to break out of prison than rip someone out of the Scorchers or Perth.
Well, that's right.
It is.
So do you think the Renegades are doing the right thing by doing that? Because we've talked a bit on this program about, the Cricket Victoria needing to look after their own. You see Perry and Murphy up in Sydney. You see Short over at the Strikers and they've got 2 teams to cater their players. You should be able to keep them all.
Yep.
But here is a situation where they've targeted someone from the other side of the country to come and get as part of their system.
I'm happy with this choice. I'm not happy with 3-year deal. I think 2 years should have been where it's at. And Jace, good for him. He's got 3 years. But I think it should have been realised in his own personal, I'll go hard for 2 years. And if works out, then we get another year. So I don't like have it sitting there just 3-year deal at that age bracket. That's just the way I sort of view it. But I mentioned before, if you haven't got a local talent, and Victoria don't have a local talent anywhere near Jason Behrendorff.
No, they don't. That's the reality.
So go and get him, and they've got him and they've secured him. Jason Behrendorff is a gun player that can win you a tournament. He's done it. Already done it 5 times or 4 times or 5 times, whatever it is for the Perth Scorchers. So he's a champion. Knows how to win, knows how to bowl under pressure. No one can smack him. That's critically important. I think it's a good signing. I really do. I'm just of the opinion that
at Marvel Stadium, I think he can be very, very effective.
Mate. He can bowl anywhere. He's just a quality performer. I'm just of the opinion that all BBL contracts shouldn't be any longer than 2 years. And in that period, you can negotiate further. It's just that in my mind, it breeds complacency. That shouldn't happen in sport.
I was going to say across all sports, that could be seen as not just in cricket. Okay, you're Mitch Marsh, an absolute idol in Western Australia, hero status over there, coming towards the end of his career. Does he stay at Perth and be loyal, Or does he go for a brand new experience and go and play in Sydney, go and play in Melbourne, go and play in Brisbane, go anywhere, but go and playing in a totally different environment to finish off his domestic career? What would you do because he's going to get the offers?
Look, I think Mitch is motivated by the experience. He's achieved a hell of a lot in his cricket life, ups and downs. And, in the last sort of couple of years, his life's changed very much so recently. He's just had a new addition to the family, married, kid. So it's all changing. And I think that's going to be critically important to his decision. His first and foremost choice will be, what would my family need? That's the type of human that he is. And if he gets support from his family to go and chase down a new adventure, then he'll go and chase down the new adventure.
It's only for 2 months.
Yeah, but when you travel and you've been on the hard road that he's been on for the last couple of years, there comes a time when if you have a new family, particularly a new child, your whole sort of outlook on cricket and the way you operate changes. And this is just my assumption around Mitch because, I know him pretty well personally, and I just think that if it's going to be put a burden on his family to pack up and move for 2 months, then he won't choose that burden. I'd love him to. With all due respect, I'd love him to come over and follow his brother's footsteps and play for the Melbourne Renegades. It'd be pretty cool to have Sean, who's a legend of the game, Renegades, Mitch Marsh following his path, come over and play for the Renegades. I think that's one of the areas where he may end up. I'm not sure. I'm sure there's every other team chasing him as well. I'm just saying it'd be a pretty cool story. Will he leave Perth? As I said, it's unlikely because we've seen it in the past. To extract players out of Perth in their prime, it's easy to break out of prison.
And I think the reality is when it comes to him, his Test cricket career, you'd have to say is probably over.
Yes.
So if you're going to get him, you're getting him for the whole tournament and potentially fresh. It's very exciting prospect if you were able to get him out of prison and get him to another state. But I think that's also the other interest for me around the competition next year is that the Australian players are going to be available for much more of the tournament than this year. There's no Champions Trophy. There's no clearly Sri Lanka series straight after the completion of the BBL. So you're going to get them for maybe 7-8 games, including finals. So that has to have an impact on how you shape your list as well.
I'll be throwing everything at him. There you go. He's more valuable than any overseas you'll get. Don't forget, he's Australia's T20 captain.
Well, that's right.
And that might be a sacrifice you have to make as a team to say, hey, this guy's Australian T20 captain. If he comes, he's leading our team.
Yeah.
So whoever's at the helm has to step aside for this guy. And that might be part of the challenge. I don't know. He might not have ambition to lead a BBL side, but he's Australia's T20 captain, so he should lead every team that he goes to. He's a good leader, great leader.
Yeah, it does look like there is plenty of action behind the scenes at the moment as clubs try and do some manoeuvring behind the scenes to get BBL 15 teams in place. Just a final word, Hodgie, on the tournament as a whole.
Yeah.
Everyone has been really quite bullish about what they've seen throughout the course of the tournament. Off the back of a really good year last year. What's your overriding thought from what you've seen?
The cricket's good. And I've always said this, forget gimmicks, forget power surge, power play, whatever it is, any other gimmick that you bring into the game. If the cricket is hard and it's passionate and it's to a high level, the batting this year has been high level. Bowling's been outstanding. And the fielding's gone to an insane level. So people don't watch gimmicks, they watch good cricket, and it's been shown. The cricket level's been amazing, and I'm not sure whether that's come down as a result from last year, from 14 games to 10 last year and then 10 again this year. I do believe it creates a sense of intensity about it. And I did talk to a few players about that, and they said it does feel, it's not showing up on the GPS, like the speeds and everything, but they do feel that there was a loads of intensity in this BBL this year for whatever reason. They couldn't put a handle on it. But
and I think I agree with everything you've just said, but if you also then throw in the intangible, which is the passion that David Warner has shown through the tournament, that he was proud to be part of the BBL.
He was.
And it was his priority through the summer. We saw the passion from obviously the Hurricanes winning, but also, the devastation the night that the Scorchers got rolled by the Renegades and all the passion that the Renegades showed that night. The feeling is real. And I think fans aren't silly. And I go back to the reference point of that last game where the Stars needed to win to beat the Hurricanes.
Yeah.
If that was a dead rubber, there's 19,000 at the MCG. Stars need to win to make it, and they got well over 30,000.
35 there.
So that just shows that I think, as you say, it's real, and I think people are starting to get right behind it.
There was also one critical element to the success as well for the whole year, and that was an amazing Test summer.
Yes.
So the Australian Test players brought something special to the summer. That was critical to then roll into the Big Bash, and everyone's excitement for cricket was huge. And as I said, the cricket itself, the quality of cricket was intense, hard, and it was what everyone would expect of a game of cricket.
And next year, it's an Ashes year, so it should continue on. Thank you for being part of it throughout the course of the BBL season. It's been awesome to have you part of it with all the insights. You've been travelling the country. You're a bit tired now.
I am,
but you've made it into the studios today. We really appreciate it.
Do we have to wait an extra 10, 11 months, do we? We'll see.
Oh, I don't know.
Thanks for having me anyway,
sure.
Ward. It's been pretty cool.
We'll have to wait and see. It's been good fun. Thank you for everyone who's been watching it throughout the course of not only the BBL but also the WBBL as well. We've had a lot of fun. But a couple of special thank yous to Braden Cox and the team at Roland Studios. They've done an amazing job. We're in their backyard, we're in their living room here at Roland Studios. So Braden does an amazing job. But also very special thanks to Jack Levitt for producing all of these shows throughout the course of the summer. And also to Nigel Hunt, who is the brain behind all of this. And I've been hammering him about this for a long time about getting this show up. And he's the boss at Cricket Australia, so he gets things
and he's
done.
sunburned as well.
That's right. So to Nigel Hunt, thank you very much as well. Well, hopefully we will catch you again next year. Long live the BBL.